it's really important to say, as Catherine so eloquently and movingly says, whatever you have in your life, it doesn't make you invincible, and no one is immune to developing a mental health problem. She's in a way, what she's expressing is one of the key coping strategies, which is being able to talk to your family and friends. But the worst thing about stigma is it stops you doing that, and often people don't talk to the nearest and dearest to them.
Much more.
Slowly improving, but we've got generations of prejudice and stigma to overturn. So yes, we're definitely seeing signs of change. I've had a mental health problem, I've got depression or bipolar or schizophrenia, and people don't immediately say.
Whether there is this great spectrum, as has been genuinely help. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, yes, it's an interesting debate to have. It's if it means you are then able to seek treatment and the right and appropriate treatment. But regardless of whether you've got a diagnosis or not, it's having a choice and finding out what works for you. So it may be medication, it may be counselling or therapy, it may be, and usually is, support from family and friends or colleagues if you're in work. And it's having the choice to decide what works for you. So you put that recipe of support together for you. And I think, yes, we do have to be careful that we don't struggles with life. There is a significant point where a mental health problem does impact on your ability to get on with life, and that's when you need help and treatment.
Sue Baker, thank you very much. Director of Time to Change. You can find more information and help about mental health issues on the Time to Change website. We can also go to mentalhealth.org.uk. It's 8:41.
Good morning. You're with 5 Live Breakfast. 7 men of Pakistani and North African heritage were found. Girls. Now, this morning's Times says the case is part of an established. Joseph Harker is a journalist. Now, he wrote a really interesting article, which in some senses is kind of counterintuitive to what lots of people are saying, and lots of liberals are saying with a great deal of discomfort. Joseph in his article says it's time to face up to the problem of sexual abuse in the white community. He wrote it for The Guardian. Good morning. Preyed on by groups of or who are linked to organised crime like drugs and who target these young women. Is that fair enough?
Well, you can say there's a model that exists. If you're looking for a model, you could say that you could look at the Stuart Hazel Tia Shot horrific killing as well this week and say there's another model that exists there, and you could look at the Jimmy Savile case and say there's a model there of which involves white people. So I think it's just important that we put it in context. These cases are individually absolutely horrific. I mean, no one could not be shocked by the revelations that came out in the Oxford case yesterday. But it involves 7 men, so as did the Telford case last week. And we have to put these things in perspective, and before we start stereotyping whole communities, whole races, whole religions, we have to remember that these are just tiny numbers of cases, tiny numbers of people. And just as with Stuart Hall, Jimmy Savile, and all the other cases of child abuse which have involved white perpetrators, to make racial stereotypes or religious stereotypes is just wrong-headed.
They're talking about something quite specific. You say some interesting things there, and valid things, but they're talking about street grooming. And I'm just looking at the figures for street grooming, the ethnic breakdown of known street grooming offenders. This is a CEOP study from 2012, not yet updated, but 1,217 total offenders, 30% were white, 28% were Asian, 3% black, 38% unknown. Right, if we take 28% Asian, 30% white, the whole population 86% is white ethnic British, and 7.5% is...
figure of 28%. But I would also say that they will then tend to come into contact once the pubs have closed. They will go where which are minicab offices and by Asian businesses, and so that's what brings these girls into contact with whatever you want to call it. And in the same way that we would say, so it's more the model, if it is a model, is more about the kind of businesses that and the kind of that are around in these the ethnic breakdown of the people. Wales child abuse case, which we heard about just a couple. Why? With poor, broken family backgrounds, and you wonder, who don't have loving. That's the common theme.
Says about it.
Some people, these criminals, think white girls are worthless, but equally, in the last few weeks, Asian victims who don't have the evidence to come forward to give evidence. So it affects all communities, and we have to be very careful in the language that we use. But we, as members of the Pakistani community, have got some responsibility to speak out.
Is that fair enough?
Well, I think.
Talk to you just for a second. She said that people have previously been afraid of speaking out. You said we should all speak out, but previously people have been afraid of speaking out because they were worried about being called racist. So, what do you mean by we should all be speaking out?
I think we should all be speaking. I don't hear people saying white people should be speaking out when they hear cases like Jimmy Savile or the North Wales child abuse case.